This is dedicated to anyone that's been knocked down but not out. The ones that fell to their knees but rose back up. The ones that scratched and clawed but never let go. The ones willing to admit their faults, move past their failures, and improve every single day. I hope these conversations encourage you to think critically, make you laugh hysterically, inspire you profoundly, and remind you to practice gratitude daily. My name is Iman Huschmand. Welcome to the conversation. Welcome to awesome people. What's up, awesome people? It's so great to see all of you again. It's been a while. It's been about a month and a half since the last episode. We're doing our best to have some more conversations with you guys more often. So I appreciate you guys joining us tonight after somewhat of a hiatus. For those of you who are joining for the very first time, the Awesome People podcast is really just meant to be a series of meaningful conversations that hopefully allows us to go a few layers deeper and have some conversations of substance, something that will hopefully motivate you, inspire you, educate you, entertain you, make you laugh, sometimes perhaps make you cry, but in a good way, because at least you're kind of learning and you're growing. And like I said, we try to do it as often as we could, given our limited time and resources. This is episode 23. I've had the distinguished pleasure of having some awesome people as a guest in the past, and tonight is no different. His name is Payam Banifaz, and also goes by Peter Banifaz. He is, an American actor, comedian, writer. Many of you who actually follow American TV might know him from his reoccurring role from Shameless, but there's also roles that he's had in Veep and Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and a lot of different things that I don't even follow as much, but I was drawn into him with the hilarious character that he created during quarantine and pandemic called Mr. Esfahani. So I myself am in the phase of still getting to know the man behind this hilarious character, not just Mr. Esfahani, but a series of characters that have made us laugh in the last 15, 16 months. And I know that a lot of you who are watching the Awesome People podcast probably just know him from that character, but the more that I've gotten to know him from afar in the past few months, the more I appreciate the journey that he's gone through, the more I appreciate the amount of energy and soul and passion he's put into making literally thousands of us happier, more joyful, and laughing at our culture, but not like in a bad way, like in a way of just acknowledging that these are interesting things within our culture, and I love how he presents his comedy in such a positive light and with quality, and you can tell that it's thought out and planned. So it's been wonderful to see him from afar. And if you guys were a part of our celebration of Nowruz 24-hour live stream, he made a cameo as Mr. Esfahani, so that was definitely a fun experience. And just in general, for those of you who don't know, our mission is to unite hyphenated Persians from all around the world. So people like you who may have been born and raised in Europe and United States and Canada, and your parents went through hard times to get us to a better place, and you had to go through tough times to acclimate to Western life or whatever. This Awesome People and the umbrella company of Unite and Conquer is really all about that. It's to unite us, to bring us together, so that we can continue to support and respect and love each other and our culture, and so happy to be here. And for those of you who are not familiar, we also have a Persian music live stream. It's called ZENdegi. This Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern will be our 10th episode. We've been alternating between the super talented DJ Kia and DJ Ari Jam. 100% Persian music, the new, the old, the classics, the hip hop, the pop, the traditional, whatever it is that's great in Persian music, it's always played during our ZENdegi Persian music live stream. So the link to join us this Thursday is in the description below. We're trying to build a community via music through meaningful conversations and live events. Of course, we recently had a boat party in DC a couple weeks ago, and we're looking to have more in Miami, back in DC, and hopefully in LA. And that's what we're doing. And the best part is that we always have a percentage of the proceeds helping Persian refugees in Greece. If you watched the last episode, I had Dr. Mojgan Hakimi. She is the founder of the Persian American Women's Conference. It's a 503c3. They've worked incredibly in helping support Cafe Pator in Greece, which is a community center that is welcoming Persian refugees to provide them with some type of shelter, food, mental health programs. So guess what? When you support this program as an advertiser, as a sponsor, as a viewer, there's always going to be a percentage that we're going to continue to donate to this incredible organization, Persian American Women's Conference. So that's pretty much what this is all about. We get to unite and we get to conquer. We get to learn from each other, support each other, love each other, and hopefully make sure that our generation is the one that improves everything that our generation prior has worked so hard to get us to. We have an obligation to pass on this baton to the next generation. And Payam is doing it in his way, which is why I'm so excited to have him here tonight. And before we get him to come on the screen, we're going to play you one of his many, many, many hilarious clips. And then join me in about 30 seconds as I welcome Payam to the show.
اگه غذا میخوری سینی بیار. اگه غذا میخوری سینی بیار. ای بابا اگه غذا میخوری سینی بیار. این چای من کجاست؟ این قرص کلسترول من کجاست؟ میدونی این پسر حسین رفت هاروارد؟ میدونی پسر خالت داره میره هاروارد؟ این پسر بقالیه داره میره هاروارد. با اون یارو حرف زدی؟ با یارو حرف زدی؟ با یارو حرف زدی؟ سر درد میکنه ماست بخور. پا درد میکنه ماست بخور. چی اسهال داری ماست بخور. زیادی ماست نخوری یا خوابت میبره. داره خوابت میبره. بهت نگفتم اینقدر ماست نخور.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to make sure that we kick off the show with some laughter. So I think that's the way to start off a show, with one of his hilarious clips. Without any further ado, please help me virtually welcome Payam, aka Peter Banifaz. What's up, Payam John? Good. Man, I appreciate that. That couch has become so famous for all of us. I feel like I've been on that couch.
It's a little bit embarrassing. I feel like so many of people have seen my couch, and like my couch, my crappy sort of $20 couch pillows, and I think people kind of know. A lot of people who I don't know what the inside of my apartment looks like.
We love it, man. We love it. I'm so happy to have you here, and it's just been such a unique past 15 months for you. I mean, like, you literally have been busting your ass in Hollywood, trying to do different shows and being a part of awesome TV programs, and all of a sudden you become this popular figure in the Persian, especially the hyphenated Persian world, which is what I call, which is
right.
The millions of Iranians that were kind of raised outside of Iran. I'm sure you have fans from inside of Iran. So before we actually really get into the Mr. Esfahani and right here, I want to actually just kind of go back to where it all started, and that is your upbringing in Iran. So can you just kind of tell people, like, where you were born and kind of the up until the war and your family leaving to US to England and then to the US part. Can you kind of start off with that aspect?
Yeah. So I was born in Tehran, and I believe I was born a little bit before the sort of the war, the Iran-Iraq war started. And I remember a couple, I mean, I was really young, but I think I remember I was around 3 years old when the war really started and the bombings really started. Mm-hmm. And then, so majority of my memories of Iran from that time are about the war. And that's kind of the extent of, like, I remember spending a lot of time in this. We lived in an area called Ekbatan in Tehran. Mm-hmm. I believe the region was Yusuf.
Oh, I definitely would not know. I never lived in Iran.
My dad literally said it. My dad literally said it yesterday, and I was like, right. And now I actually can't pronounce it. But so anyway, it was in that area. It was in Tehran, and we lived in a big apartment complex, and we spent a lot of time in the cellar during those bombings. At some point, I think it was like 4 times a week, we were spending in the cellar because they would be doing these bombing raids over Tehran. And then so basically we'd have to go in the cellar. And at that point, you just hope that the bombs don't drop on you, Yeah.
And listen, I didn't mean to kind of start the program off in such a heavy way, but I feel like it had so much to do with the Payam Banifaz that we see now, and I felt that it's very important for people to really see where your history comes from. Because one thing that I really appreciated you talked about in a previous podcast was how your mother acknowledged the mental health component of you being raised around these bombs and around this type of fear and concerns, and which is, obviously we know that in the Persian culture, it's such stigma, like depression. What depression? What are you talking about? Suck it up and let's go. And you've had a lot of that in your skits as well. And that's just how our parents were raised as well. It's to not address these things. But your mom seemed to be somewhat of a trailblazer in regards to like immediately put you in getting a child psychiatrist. And like I respected the fact that, in past conversations, you said it. Yeah, I had to see a psychiatrist. So if you don't mind just kind of touching on that experience, that at the young age, you're talking to a counselor or a psychiatrist about the impact that growing up in a war-torn country had on you.
Yeah, I mean, so we left Iran. My mom at some point basically was like, I can't raise the children and like, I can't raise them during a war. So my mom was the one who really made that decision. And I can't imagine how difficult it was because she was still a young person and with two young kids. What happened? We went to England for a couple of years. And when I first got to England, I was having a lot of nightmares. I had extreme separation anxiety. My mom used to tell me stories where she'd be in the bathroom and I'd sit outside the bathroom waiting for her to come out. And she understood at that time, again, even though she was young. And like you said, culturally, unfortunately, we are a little bit behind on the issues of getting help for mental health. And at that time, we were even farther behind. And it was during the 80s and nobody knew much about mental health and to that extent. But she knew enough to be like, okay, I'm going to take him to a child psychologist. And they sort of diagnosed me as like having a mild form of, or so at least it's a form PTSD. Of PTSD. Yeah. The beautiful thing about being a kid is though, once you're out of that element that caused you the trauma, you start to heal pretty fast. I mean, the first day my uncle, because we were staying with my uncle and aunt back then. And first day it took me to like a 5-story toy store called Hamleys that's like renowned in all of the UK. And I was like, I think everything's going to be just fine here. So I was able to adapt very quickly. I think my coming to the US, adapting was much harder.
And then so when you actually ended up coming to the US, here you are, what, 8-9 years old? And you're right around, am I correct?
I was 8. I was 8, yeah.
And so, you're 8-9 years old coming into LA, and I understand that it wasn't exactly like an affluent area of like LA, so it's not like you were around all these Persians.
No, not at all.
Tell me about the experience of like the types of demographics of people that you were all around with, and then how that kind of like impacted your acclimation to California, because I'm sure it wasn't anything that you had expected, LA.
No. I mean, I was so ignorant coming to this country. I literally thought that the streets in like Los Angeles were paved with gold. Like I literally thought. So when we came and we lived in the area, and no disrespect to this area because it's a wonderful area. I was raised here. Is an area, Canoga Park, which is very different now. But at the time, back in the late 80s, it was completely different than it is now. And now it's significantly more gentrified and whatnot. Most of LA, a lot of LA is. But so in my neighborhood, the majority of people were either Mexican or El Salvadorian, and we also had some Filipino families as well. So that was the extent of the type of people that I was meeting, and that's who I learned English from. That's who I learned, that's how I learned how to kind of be an American from. I learned how to be American from non-white people. That's the area I lived. I didn't know any Iranians until I was like way later in high school when I started meeting some Iranian people in high school. But I had no interaction with them when I was younger. But I'll tell you, I never had a problem. The only times I had a problem fitting in was when I was around large groups of like white people. This is not to make a statement about white people, but when I was around the folks that I grew up with in my neighborhood, I felt very accepted and I felt very...
You have something in common.
Absolutely. Because I didn't understand where they were from. They didn't understand where I was from, my culture. I didn't understand theirs, but we knew that we were both immigrants. We knew that and I learned that that Iranian culture has so many similarities with Mexican culture, El Salvadorian culture, Filipino culture. I started meeting and becoming friends with a lot of Black people and a lot of Black folks, and then understanding how similar our culture was with them. So like that was kind of the extent of like how I learned, I don't know, how to be American. So I feel really, really fortunate that I was raised in a very diverse environment. Gave me a lot of understanding about different types of people in this country. Gave me a lot of pride for the city I live in, the city I grew up in. And, it just gave me a love and a respect for being around diverse groups of people, which I hold to this day. And it's something I'm very proud of.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that diversity it has really kind of helped you evolve into the person that you are. Is that you kind of embrace different nationalities, different cultures, and like when you have that type of I guess connectivity with those kind of people, it makes you evolve from a social standpoint. You're able to kind of connect with so many more people instead of just having your blinders on and not being able to have that exposure to other people, I guess. But what I want to kind of ask you is, when you were it seemed like from a very early on you really wanted to start going to acting, like you felt like you were an entertainer. But obviously going into Hollywood, it's such a tough business, and I know you grinded. I believe you still are grinding, because it's just such a cutthroat type of business. I don't want to talk about how difficult it was to convince your parents to go through it. I want you to just kind of tell me about the journey itself, and like if there's other Persians who want to follow the same path, because as you know, there's not that many of us out there. Like that's what I really love and appreciate about what you're doing, is the fact that there are not that many Persians representing us. And I know how you use the word normalization, which I loved, about how, you just want a Persian version of like crazy rich Asians kind of stuff, where like the good parts of their culture are shown and stuff. So can you kind of just speak to like, what is it that like you want to make sure that Iranian Americans or Iranians are like represented, and just a whole road that you had to been taken now for 15, 20 years, I believe, in this industry?
It's like, for me, when I made the decision, for a very, very, very long time, I tried my best to just sort of hide my interest, hide my feelings, because I thought to myself that this is not something that can happen for somebody like me. Like I felt like maybe I would be living in a dream world if I was able to pursue it. It really got to a point where I couldn't go one more day without not going, let me at least try this. Like there's got to be a reason why I've been feeling this way for so long. And I wasn't like, hey, I think I'm very talented or I'm funny, I should try this. It was like, I can't stop thinking about this. I don't even know if I'm good or not. I might suck, but at least I can go find out. And if I suck, I can at least be 65 years old, look back and say, hey, I tried that thing and I sucked at it. But if I never tried it, I don't care how successful I could have been from something else. And maybe I wouldn't even been successful at something else. I don't know. But like, I couldn't picture living my life not at least trying it. So like, once I made up my mind I was going to do it, I would tell anybody, whether they're Iranian or anybody in this business, or like when you want to pursue your dreams, and especially something in entertainment, don't be afraid to be afraid. Because at that time, I was shit scared. When I made that decision, I remember I was sitting on my bed. I had anxiety, like just beating in my chest. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. But I knew that I had made this decision that was going to change the rest of my life.
And I'm sorry, how old were you here?
Man, I was a little bit older in life. I was like 26 when I finally made this decision.
What were you doing work-wise right before? Because like before you kind of decide, I'm gonna screw this and go full time with this.
Well, I mean, I got my bachelor's in political science. I was going to go to law school. And then but instead of going straight to law school, I took a couple of years off. I was working. And at the time, the mortgage business, especially in California, was booming. So I kind of got into that just to make a little bit of money after college. But my idea was to go to law school. But you know, it's not something what I really wanted to do. I just thought this is the only thing I can do, you know? So, and, but that's what I was doing at that time when.
You decided to go all in.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even really explain what made me suddenly at that go all in, and because I had been thinking about this for a long time, but I remember one time it was just one day where I was just like, I don't think I can go through the rest of the day tomorrow if I don't make some move towards this. Like, that's the best way I can describe it, where it's just like, I got so fed up about lying to myself. I was so tired of carrying the weight of that, not being honest with myself, that I was like, that I have to do this.
Like,
I have to do this. And
would you say, sorry to cut you off, would you say that would you say this was like an all or nothing move for you? Like, did you just feel like you absolutely need to follow your heart, and like whatever may happen, it will happen, but at least you don't live a life of regret?
I sat there and I was like crying on my bed. I remember, and I was so scared because when I asked myself, am I willing to do whatever it takes, whatever road this takes me, good or bad, am I willing to do that? And when I said yes, I knew the weight of that. You know, I knew what was about to come, and the same thing that came, which was over a decade of hardship, over a decade of proving myself day in, day out to my family, casting directors, producers. So what I thought how difficult it was going to be, it was, you know, and like you said, it's still sometimes a struggle, especially, I mean, certainly the pandemic didn't help me or any actor. It didn't help anybody in the business because, you know, production was kind of destroyed for so long. But in the end of the day, I didn't want to have a plan B. You know, my dad really, at first he was like, bro, you're crazy. This is fucking nuts. We got past that. Then we got into, okay, this is nuts, but you need a plan B. And I was like, my fear was that a plan B would mean failure to me. You know, a plan B would mean trying. And then I don't even watch Star Wars, but this Star Wars quote from Yoda where it's like, do or don't. There is no try. And I was like, to me, having a plan B would feel like I'm trying to do this as opposed to no matter what, I'm going to do this. Because I was like, bro, here's the thing. Like, I got into an accident in 2003. I broke my neck. I almost lost my life. I almost lost everything. I almost was paraplegic, basically. And that didn't happen. That didn't happen. Luckily, I was fine. I broke my neck, you know. I was in.
Did you have a halo? Because my sister broke her neck. And
I didn't have it. Oh man, bless her. Thank God she's okay.
It's incredible.
I didn't have a halo. I didn't have a halo. Luckily, I had just this sort of thing around my.
Yeah, but that's a very humbling experience, I'm sure.
Extremely, and I thought to myself, bro, my family went through so much. I personally went through so much. I almost lost my life. All this stuff. That I know I got one shot at this life. I'm gonna, if I don't at least attempt this, I feel like I'm spitting in the face of all of that, you know. And not to make it sound so dramatic, but at the time, you know, when you're deciding what your life is going to be, especially when you know it's not an easy one you're choosing, it's like you almost have to make it that important to yourself. You almost have to make it do or die. Yeah. And I know that people say don't make your work your everything, but I do feel like if you're an artist, especially an artist trying to come up, I don't think you have a choice. Well, I mean, that's my opinion, and people have every right to disagree with that, but that's the only way I could do it.
Well, it's your truth, so it's nobody else's opinion that matters. But what's interesting is that it seems like you had like a life-altering experience when that accident happened, and I didn't know that about you actually, but I had this bad accident where I should not have made it out alive. And I feel like my entire trajectory in life at the age of 20 changed because I was like, I should not be here. Like so every day is for me like just an extra day that God decided to give to me. And would you say that that's a type of turning point that it had on your life?
Absolutely. Because I was on the way back from Vegas. We were having fun with my friends, like were having a blast. We drove back, and we had a rear left tire pop, and this was on a Sunday, and I woke up Monday afternoon, and and what I had to experience physically over the next like month and a half was absolute hell. And it's like, after that, I truly think it altered my perception of what life is and what my role in this life for me is. And it absolutely changed my life for the rest of my life. Like, I went from a stupid ass kid to a
fully focused.
Certain, I mean, I went, I think my maturity level increased overnight because of that. And that's the thing, a problem about pain. That's the problem about suffering, where it feels so bad, but it's almost always good for you to some extent. And but it just feels like, it just feels like hell when you're going through it. But as I say, when you're going through hell, you just keep going.
Well, I feel like all of a sudden life became more like a purpose-driven experience for you, and you just wanted to make sure every day counts. And there is a component that I want to touch on a little bit later, that goes back to what I think is what your driving force is behind what you're doing. But it's just an assumption. I'll let you answer it. I do want to go into COVID, which is a life-altering experience for many of us, and which led to the birth of the character Mr. Esfahani. I don't think it would have been created were it not for COVID, And so I do want to transition there, but I want to segue it by playing one of your clips, playing Mr. Esfahani. So we'll go ahead and play that real quick, and then when we come back in about 30 seconds, we'll be back with Payam Banifaz.
Cool, let's do it.
این کیه؟ یادت نره آشغالا رو بذار بیرون، فردا جمعه است. بوی گاز میاد. بعد برم هوم دیپو مگس کش جدید بگیرم. میدونی الان چی میچسبه؟ یه آناناس. میگن انار برای قلب خوبه. انار داریم؟ این جان تراولتاست؟
No.
این هریسن فورد یا استینگ؟
Neither.
بوی گاز میاد. این گاز روشنه. ای بابا عینک من کو؟ این هری چتره؟
Who?
هری چتر.
You mean Harry Potter?
یه بار تو فوتبال همچین توپ شوت کردم که پام شکست. یه بار یه دونه کلاغ تمام جورابامو دزدید. ای بابا اینو بعد اتو کنم چروکه. یه جوک هست، یه جوخ با یه شترمرغ عروسی کردن. یادم رفت پنیر بخرم. چی گفت؟ چی میگه؟ چی؟ چی شد؟ کجا؟
And back.
All right, so that was another funny clip from Payam playing the role of Mr. Esfahani. So, Payam, take me to March of 2020. Here you are, still working your ass off, trying to get roles, and whatever you're doing in these TV shows. I'm sure you're still looking for other roles to get that stability that you want. And all of a sudden, the world comes to a screeching halt. Before you even get to like Mr. Esfahani, can you kind of take us to your mindset at the time? Like, I myself, not sure if you know or not, but my main company was an entertainment company. So we were the first domino that fell and the last one that's going to get up. I mean, we're literally still in it, just like you in many ways are. But I'm sure the world has kind of created some opportunities for you in some shape or form. So, but take us to like March 2020, the quarantine, and what kind of cultivated the ideas behind your series of videos that you're doing online on your couch, essentially.
I mean, so like, as a working actor, literally it's just, I get my money from booking jobs and whatnot. And February had been a good month for me. I had worked on a film that's actually coming out towards the end of this year, hopefully. And it was a great time. It was an exciting time. I was looking forward to sort of just leveraging off sort of that. And then when this pandemic hit, everything shut down. I'd be performing comedic improv and comedy sketches all around Hollywood and at various theaters throughout the week. I'm doing like 3-4 shows a week, and all that came to a complete screeching halt. And it was just me alone in my house with Netflix and my laptop, and I was just so utterly bored. I really was never that interested in doing videos for Instagram. I had nothing against it. It just didn't feel like something I particularly wanted to do, or at the time didn't really even have the time to do it. But once I was just literally sitting on my butt and I was just bored and just anxious and reading about COVID news and numbers all day. And I was just like, okay, I got to do something to just sort of like feel creative and get my mind off things. So I just started making these little videos that I just thought just me and my friends that I have on Instagram, my other comedy and acting buddies would watch. And then little by little, they just got, I just started doing different ones and stuff. I had never really incorporated Iranian culture much into my work. Not that I didn't want to, but just the opportunity hadn't been there. Mm-hmm. And I realized like, well, I have the opportunity to do it here. I control this Instagram. I can do pretty much whatever I want. And I've felt very, very disappointed for a long time that in mass media and in films and TVs, that representation for not only not only Iranians, but Middle Easterners in general is so limited, more limited than I would say pretty much every other minority. I mean, I don't quote me on that. I know that there's a lot of, it happens a lot. I don't want to compare, but let's just say the amount of it's definitely on the lower end. Not doesn't mean it's less or more than any other, less or more important than the other, but it's so low, and it's okay that it's low because for so many years it was okay to look at Middle Easterns, Iranians, Arabs, Afghans as terrorists, as lowlife, as criminal, because there was sort of that war on terror and whatnot. It obviously trickled down to also the cultures. So it's like it really hurt the way people look at us to this day. If you think about it, the Iranian people haven't had a good thing said about them in the media in 40 something years, so I was like, I wanted to do something to just, I don't know, like just even show people that I know that, hey, I'm Iranian. This is actually my culture. Let me show you a little bit of it. Maybe you'll think it's funny and maybe you won't think it's something negative or there's a potential threat or that maybe you I don't know. I had no idea people would watch these videos.
Well, this is what I was going to ask actually. Did you want to cater to a certain community, or did you put out something and you got an overwhelming response from that Persian community?
Exactly, the second one. I was like, I want to make these videos. It was literally, I want to make a video so my American friends get an idea of this culture and my culture. But then little by little, I just saw like Iranians commenting and liking and following me, and I was just really, really surprised. I didn't even think anybody would watch it. And then it just kind of like grew and grew and grew. And then once that happened, and I saw that, and a lot of people reached out to me and, just through their kindness and their support, they made me feel like, hey, this is an important thing. If it's making people happy, it's making people from my culture happy, especially, and mostly people from, like you said, people who are from, like who grew up like I did, like we did. We just grew up in a different culture. So we're sort of like bicultural, but living in one particular culture. And like, I think maybe that's why a lot of people sort of gravitated towards it for whatever reason they did. And then, so I was very, very surprised and just it was just very humbling because I'd never had an opportunity to really connect with my culture or my people in that level. I had left Iran pretty early. Right. And through that, I've gotten so much more connected to my culture, and it's all thanks to the people who like reach out to me and just, and so now I do want to cater to Iranians. My goal is to cater to Iranians everywhere, all over the world, but even bigger than that is to cater to anybody who's a fan of comedy, anybody who's a fan of TV, film. That's the overall goal, to take it to a place where, as an Iranian American, I can represent for Americans all over the world. For people all over the world, it just so happens that I'm Iranian. You know what I mean? That get to a place of normalization where it's like the culture doesn't even matter anymore.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was kind of alluding to earlier when I was like, I think this is kind of like what's driving him now. I feel like you just have constantly ideas in your head on like, man, I have an opportunity right now to really represent us and to tag team with other people that can help represent this. So is that it? Is that like, would you say that the pandemic has kind of like created this opportunity for you to consider, and like now maybe you're churning your head, or maybe you've already begun the steps that you need to take to be able to take this onto the big screens or sitcoms and whatever. Like, tell me if that's something that's right now in your future.
Absolutely. That's really what I'm sort of behind the scenes working on mostly, is to be able to. I'm working on a couple of different projects that trying to do this exact thing. Sell projects to major cable network and streaming companies. Get that out there and let the people see it. Let the people judge it for itself. In the end of the day, my main thing is I want to make comedy that everybody can laugh at and everybody can enjoy. And if it's about Iranian people, Iranian culture, I mean, that's the ultimate goal. Ultimate goal is, yeah.
Sorry, but would you want to like produce it and write it and do all that, or would you like to team up with somebody where you're just a lead actor? What is your involvement in your utopic vision of this grand project of yours?
Well, the thing is, I believe and I don't want this to sound in any way, shape, or form arrogant. I mean it as in terms of what I think would be best for this. For me, it would be that I need to basically control the creative aspect of it. At least give me an opportunity to do so, to showcase what it could be. And, if it's, basically like right now, one of the projects that I'm working on, I can't talk about too much because of just legalities. It's basically, a project that I wrote with my writing partner that now we are taking, with me attached, that now we are taking around to sort of to sell it.
Yeah.
But the thing is, if I want to sort of break into it the way I want to, I feel like I have to be sort of steering the ship. And don't get me wrong, if a situation comes up where I can come on just as a lead actor to it, I would never turn that down too, because I love collaborating, and there's so many damn talented people in the industry and so many talented Iranians that are coming up that are going to start getting in writers' rooms. They're going to start becoming producers. They're going to start becoming development executives at networks and studios. That's really going to start happening. And these are the type of people I truly look forward to collaborating with within this sort of Hollywood system, because it's a crazy ass system. And it's like, we need as many of us as we can to sort of like tell these stories, to create this sort of this image that I think we all want to create, which is like to let people know that the Iranian culture is something that it's
more than what the media portrays.
Much more. The media is portraying not even any aspect of the culture. They're portraying the behavior of the government.
Yeah.
And anyone in this country could say it is like, especially after 4 years of Trump, is like, hey, our government and the people who run our government are not representative of the values of the people, of the culture of this country. And it's the same thing with Iran. That government does not represent the values of the people. It does not represent the behavior and the hearts and the minds of the people. And I think anybody who's gone to Iran, any non-Iranian who's gone to Iran, has seen that firsthand.
Well, I do believe we are going the right direction. I feel like people are getting on the diversity train more. People are accepting of different sexual orientations, and I think we're evolving. I hate to use that word because we should have evolved thousands of years ago, but there's still some there's a lot of work to be done, and I see a lot of potential in what the younger generation of Iranian, especially Americans, are doing. You see people like Nassim Pedrad, getting on TBS and doing her own thing. Yes. It's not the most accurate depiction of whatever, but it's cool. It's just great to see that there's somebody, a young Iranian American female, that's producing it on TBS. I mean, no matter what you think of the show, just doing that, I think it's impressive.
Absolutely. Her, the fact that she came up with the idea, she wrote it, she directed the pilot. Yeah. Also, as far as Hollywood has come, it's still. When it comes to development and stuff, it's still a boys' club, unfortunately. Yeah. So for a woman to come in there and be able to get her vision across the screen, she had to really jump through hurdles. She had to jump through hurdles that a man wouldn't have had. And so, like, everyone should commend her and respect for what she did. She had a vision, a very unique vision that she fulfilled. And that's hard to do no matter what, let alone a woman of color.
It's incredible what she's done. The fact that she did that Chad character as a 13-year-old boy. I mean, but anyway, that's a whole different thing. I hope to have her as a guest, but that's incredible, you know.
Right. Absolutely incredible. Yeah.
But let's go ahead and now talk about Mr. Esfahani a little bit more. So obviously, when you were sitting on the couch during pandemic, it just kind of evolved. What I want to know is really how accurate of a depiction is it to your real father? Is it super accurate, or is it exaggerated, or what?
So Mr. Esfahani is the father character, and Mr. Esfahani is separate because Mr. Esfahani is sort of the character that speaks English in like sort of like a with a strong like accent, and the dad character is just sort of like the dad character, and he my dad, a lot of people ask me this. It's like, was this how your dad was growing up? And I would say, no, my dad wasn't like that. I think that dad character is a much more exaggerated version of my dad. Certainly, it has aspects of my dad that I just took and sort of like exasperated for comedic purposes. I remember somebody had commented on one of my videos saying like, this is not true, you're exaggerating, and I didn't comment back, but I wanted to say, well, you're kind of describing what comedy is. You take something has a true baseline and then you exaggerate it so that's what I'm doing. But that character actor is a mixture of a couple of, including my own dad and some of my friends' dads that I knew growing up, and that's it. Like, I had no idea that I was trying to like tap into some like collective cultural experience. Mine was like, hey, this is how the dads I know are, so I just did that. Yeah. And then I had people, it's like, oh man, it's so crazy that you know how all Persian dads act. So I was like, no, I don't. I don't at all. All I know is how these dads act. That was all I was doing. So it took no greater understanding or intelligence on my part. It was just literally all I was doing is mimicking what I see. Yeah. It just so happened that, damn, all our dads are the same, I guess. It just happens to be like that, I guess.
Well, what was interesting is that a lot of the stuff that you have is super relatable to a lot of people, and it's definitely a lot of people do like it. And I think that, you're kind of being like the social media darling of like the Persian community, because whatever you put out, 99% of people love it. But I put up like one of the videos as like promotional for like tonight's show, and it was the one where the father was a little bit maybe aggressive and high anxiety, I guess. And this one of my friends, she actually said, nothing about this is funny. I now realize my anxiety is driven by having a Persian mother who talks this way. I choose to raise my kids differently. And I want for you, because man, I didn't know how to answer it. All I said is, I can certainly respect your opinion. Even though I knew her, I was like, I don't even know how to answer that. Because I was like, wow, look how some people respond to this, which a lot of people find funny. Even if it's happening in their household, they still find it funny because they're like, that's just a Persian dad, Persian mom. Accept it. It is what it is. How do you respond to this person who this was what they said?
First of all, how dare they? No, I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. No, first, one thing with me is my stuff is public, so everybody has a right to their opinion. So like, they like it, don't like it, they absolutely have a right to it. My thing, what I would say to her is that like, it seems like it kind of struck a chord. Maybe it struck a chord with you in the wrong way because you feel some type of trauma from that. And I totally understand that. And if people are sort of getting triggered by these videos, I am sorry about that. But at the same time, if we don't make fun of the shit that triggered us and become aware of it, the shit that traumatized us, and become aware of it and become aware of our triggers and sort of what to do when we're triggered by past trauma, blah, 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 all these, terms. I don't know. That would like,
well, we'll never learn.
When are we going to learn? When are we going to heal? Mm-hmm. And here's the thing. It's like, we have to laugh at these things. Like, we have to laugh at this sort of generational trauma that we've experienced, because you've already experienced it. It's already too late. Why not laugh at it? Why not laugh at its expense? Let's make jokes. When we laugh at shit that's real, that's bothered us, it lets out steam. It takes the weight off it. Mm-hmm. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a psychotherapist. I'm not pretending to know what it does, but all I know is what it does for me. And yeah. So yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but
No, but I just would say that like that, and to that person, that really doesn't offend me. Like I always do laugh at somebody that feels the need to like really say what they're thinking in the comments, like I didn't like this or this is not funny, because that's just so counter to how I am online. But at the same time, it's a public forum, it's a public video. She had every right to state her opinion. I hope that whatever situation she's dealing with, she can work out.
I think you answered it in the best way possible, and that is that of course, she has every right to raise her kids the right way or different way. But that's the whole point, is the fact that we do want to learn from any areas that, our parents perhaps didn't, be, I don't know, I don't want to say good parents, but, we're all humans, even when you're 40, 50, 60 years old and you have a child, it doesn't make you a know-it-all. It makes you somebody who's still going through the challenges of life while trying to raise a child, trying to be a good father, and I feel like Persians, especially the ones who kind of came out of Iran and, we make fun of our immigrant parents about the little things that they do that are the Persian parent stuff, but they don't get all the respect that they deserve for how much trauma they had to go through and having to juggle raising children in a different culture with a different language, finding different jobs, losing everything financially. I mean, I can't even imagine doing that at age of 41, going to a country that I don't know the language, let alone having wife, children, and then dealing with the financial hardships, and so that's what I appreciate about what you're doing, is the fact that it's creating these conversations. What do you think about that?
I mean, I appreciate that. I would say to anybody who thinks, and I hope nobody ever thinks I'm making light of anything in my videos, because if they do, please know that like the person that makes these videos has experienced the whole cycle of hardship of what it is to be an immigrant. So I take none of that lightly. My dad was an executive at Chase Manhattan in Tehran when the revolution happened. When we were here with an MBA from Chicago, he was working, pushing boxes in a warehouse, like 14 hours a day. So I've seen directly myself that road. So I would never make light of that.
And
but what's the alternative?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, but and I remember in an interview you mentioned that when your mom came here, she had to start working for the very first time.
She had never worked before.
Just like many of our moms and dads, I mean, yeah.
I remember she worked in somebody's garage. She was basically secretary for this little mom and pop like driver's training school. And there was roaches all in her office, and she hates roaches. And I remember it would just scare the shit out of her. Like I saw all of that. No, I make light of nothing. The fact of the matter is, what's the alternative of this? Like not talking about it, not making fun of it, having serious discussions about like what our families went through as immigrants and stuff. Yeah, that's important. But at the same time, making fun of it is different than making light of it.
Yeah. And that's actually why, my friend, I really wanted to have this conversation with you, and why I became a fan and a supporter of your craft, because I knew that, first of all, there's a humility behind who you are as a person. Like every interaction I've had with you, it was class, professional, kind. And you don't make fun of it. You kind of make a light of it, and you bring in your creative aspect, and you're super freaking talented. Like there's a lot of people, like if I hear one more person just making fun of like a quote unquote FOB accent, like I just want to smack the screen, because like I don't want that kind of shit. I don't want Persians just putting down other Persians. You're not really putting us down. You are just bringing a funny, creative, entertaining aspect to things that pretty much happen in many households, And so that's the differentiation between you and other people who might just make it more comedic. And that's why I wanted to start this conversation with the backstory of who you are, where you were raised, the trauma you went through, the hardships of growing up in not exactly Rodeo Boulevard, or in Westwood, like hundreds of thousands of your fellow Persians did. That's got to be hard, in my opinion, that you go to LA and you're not like the rich Persians, in that neighborhood. That doesn't make life easier, And so like you fought through that, and you were built differently, and I respect that about you. And kudos to you for now still trying to come and create conversations for the Persian community through your work. You could easily be like, screw you Persians, I'm just going to do my own thing. But yet you've navigated yourself, whether it's by chance or pandemic or your personal interest, to here you are. which is great, man. I love that.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I think you're class personified yourself, my man. I thank you. No, of course. Yeah, I mean, luckily I didn't know Iranians in this country, or in this city at least, were known to be affluent. I really didn't.
Mhm.
It wasn't until like a little bit later I found out. I was like, oh, these, Iranians do well in this city. But in fact, that more just inspired me, to be honest. Like, I was like, okay, cool. See, like, people don't care.
Yeah.
Although it's not true, people do care, because, like, we still experience, like, we'd go to soccer games back in the days in the 80s, early 90s, and there was still people like waving, like Iranians go home and stuff like that, like, sort of like and it was, still after the whole Iran hostage crisis, and so there was still a lot of like animosity. But another thing is that I don't pretend that my videos are anything more than they are. They're just little silly ass videos. I'm a grown ass man. I'm making on my freaking couch with shitty sound, and then I edit them on a fucking iMovie, and then I put them out on Instagram, a free account. So it's like, I never am trying to be like, I'm nothing more than just sort of like that.
Yeah.
In those, I mean, at least my videos, like, I have a lot of pride in, I mean, I have pride in my body of work in the videos too, but like, the work that I've really put in my life is in my live shows and, like, TV and film and whatnot. So I'm not very high and mighty about my videos. My thing is like, hey, it's a minute of your time. If you like it, great. Please, follow me, like, comment if you can. If you don't like it, it was a minute of your time. Like, that's, and no hard feelings. That's kind of how I feel.
There's 8 billion other people that you could follow. But yeah, so speaking of you being, not taking your videos too seriously and stuff, one thing that I noticed is that you're very open about marijuana, weed, joints, and all that stuff. So tell me if at any point you felt a little bit of apprehension now that you're like kind of thrusted into the Persian demographic, that like, ooh, should I tone shit down now? Like, because I love smoking weed and it makes me feel relaxed or creative or whatever, like whatever your reason is kudos to you. But did you ever have apprehensions about posting anything about weed? Because you actually made one video that was, putting it right out there, which was, kind of like avant-garde.
That's what I was going for, just pure avant-garde. No, no, so here's the thing. The truth is, yes, I have scaled it back in videos, because as more people have seen it, I've gotten a lot of different videos from people whose kids are sort of like imitating some of the characters are doing. And then, they send it to me and it's like, hey, look what my son was doing from watching it. And then when I started seeing that, and I have a special affinity for children. So like, when I started seeing that, I just didn't really feel comfortable putting it out there like that. And, if I find, the thing is, I also don't want to limit myself. So I might find a way of if I can find a way of just sort of like almost letting parents know, like, hey, this particular video might not be appropriate for your kid. You might not think it's appropriate.
Right.
I would like to do that because I do want to because that, I smoke weed. I'm from LA. It's legal. I'm a, grown man. It relaxes me. It helps me with sleep. I don't abuse it because I'm just not that kind of person. Yeah. And
actually, why don't you share like any kind of medical benefits that or medicinal benefits? Like tell us like all the good stuff that you get from smoking weed.
Well, I'll tell you, nothing helps me with like falling asleep like weed. Like, there's been times in my life where I didn't smoke and I had awful time falling asleep. And what was I exercise, I'm doing everything I can, but it still can't. There are still these periods where I would experience not being able to fall asleep properly, or I would wake up like 80 times in the middle of the night or something. And from anybody who's tried some of these prescription drugs to fall asleep, they make you feel freaking weird, and you have weird ass dreams, and and I just didn't like it. So, but weed is the one that's consistently helped me fall asleep in a way that doesn't feel I'm being drugged. I feel like I'm just, you get tired and then you fall asleep, and it just feels like a more of a normal sleep pattern. Another thing is just, it relaxes me. It's one of the only thing that can really, other than exercise, just really relax me if I'm tense or stressed out about something. I don't really like to some people like to quote unquote self-medicate themselves with alcohol if they'll have a few drinks when they're stressed out. I'm not that. I like drinking, but for social fun reasons, not to get rid of stress. Because alcohol it's a depressant, and so like you might feel fun, you're having fun Friday night, but Saturday you're feeling like crap. And so weed doesn't do that to me. And so the decisions I make with weed have really been based on outside of just obviously like recreational use. Like it has a true medicinal and healthy benefit for me in my life. And everybody's different. Some people get anxiety from it. Some people it takes their anxiety away. I'm not
gonna lie, man. There was a part of me that wanted to have an Elon Musk, Joe Rogan moment with you, where we just kind of like light up a joint and we just kind of, break a little bit of the stigma that's around Persians and weed and stuff, But I held back.
Man. Then we got to do that another time because I got one right next to me. We can get going right away. Yeah, that's another thing. It's like this because now that I have because I've had like people that are a little bit older and people that are younger watching these videos, I guess the sort of the Iranian part of me comes out where it's like, well, you know what? And then I don't know. I want to find a way to do that maybe a little bit more responsibly, simply because I don't know if there's kids watching.
Yeah. No, I get it, man. I mean, like I could see how that's kind of hard, especially Persian. We're family oriented. If there are aunts and uncles that are sending these cute little videos or whatever, like that's very respectful of you to kind of like tone it down, I guess, or not let it supersede anything, I guess, So I feel you.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I was kind of like, just okay. What am I losing if I don't do that? If I don't bring it in, I don't think I'm losing much. You know what I'm saying? I can't subjugate myself. I can't hold myself back. I think as someone like the creator or whatever, it doesn't feel right. But in this case, I thought it was something I could hold back, and hey, if I ever get a fun idea and I want to do something with it, I'll do it. But I'll certainly think of what's the most responsible way to get it out there without, my biggest, I'm not worried about what adults say. Because if 2021, you're still thinking about weed like if your Amu is smoking opium, but is complaining about weed, then I think the priorities are mixed up. You know what I'm saying? Like, so like, I'm not worried about what the grown adults think. Like, I don't have that part of me that's like worried that like I lose face in front of Iranians or in front of anybody, like I'm very transparent for the most part with who I am, what I do. And, so like, I'm more worried about kids, I guess. That's the best way to say it.
I do feel like you're very comfortable in your skin and who you are at this stage in your life, and just keep on being genuine, authentic like you are. And I'm sure that those who are meant to connect with you, they will, and those who aren't, they can.
Thank you, man.
It's not for everybody. All right, so listen,
sure.
there's a couple of things, because I told you that there's so many things that I really want to talk to you about, but obviously for time reasons, I had to pick and choose. So some of the things I'm just going to do kind of like rapid fire, if you don't mind. So
sure, yeah. So I'll be quick.
Especially because I have a couple of friends. My friend Shazad, like in our group chat, was really excited that I was going to be having you as a guest. So there was a couple of things she was curious about. So I'm going to include those in there, in no particular order, since I know that one of your favorite singers or rappers were Tupac. What's your favorite Tupac song of all time?
My favorite Tupac song of all time. This is very, very difficult because there's so many of them. But the one that makes me the happiest every time I hear it, I go, whoa! Like one of those, oh!
How do you want it?
Picture Me Rolling.
Oh, okay. All right. That's a great one.
Number eight. Are You Still Down? Disc 2, number 8. What I love about this song is it felt like Tupac's victory lap.
Yeah.
Where he basically says, screw all of you who doubted me, screw all of you who turned against me. I'm finally doing it. And you feel a level of freedom, a little bit of a level of weight lifted off his shoulder. And I would say that's what any creator, any entertainer who's really trying to come up, you live with that weight until that weight finally is removed, when people can see who you finally are and appreciate you for who you are. So not only do I love it, but it means a lot to me personally.
Well, you said one word, feel, and like I was a huge Tupac song. Like fan. I loved his music, and you could feel when he would rap and speak and sing, like it was just, you could just feel it right there. It was incredible.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
A young talent. But it was always the Tupac versus Biggie. If we want to give some love and respect to Biggie, is there a certain Biggie song that you admired, or were you like totally team Tupac and that was it?
I was at the time, because I'm such a we were such we had so much pride in the city. We were in LA was a big thing for us. So like we didn't like the fact that we felt like this was a New York against LA thing. So like when we're young and stupid, we'd say, you know, fucking New York, this, that. But we all respected Biggie. I always respected Biggie. It's truly is, you know, you know, I don't even like to say who's first or who's second. It's just I usually somebody likes one or better than the other for whatever reason. Yeah. And Biggie's fantastic. And I think the song that I'll always love, another song that when it comes up, no matter what, I'll always like, whoa, is I love it when you call me Big Papa. And man, I love the Isley Brothers. You know, that's because when I first started listening to that music, I didn't know much about the Isley Brothers. Maybe hear a few songs from them, but like listening to that old school hip hop, you then learned about where they got those samples from, and then I started listening to the Isley Brothers and Al Green, and
it opened you up to a whole new world of incredible music.
New world.
Unlocking a treasure trove.
Oh man, absolutely.
Okay, a random question. It wasn't mine. It was a fan question. Are you seeing someone? Putting you on blast here. Putting you on blast here. Sorry. Okay. Sorry.
No, I recently. No, I'm not seeing anybody.
Somebody's trying to play matchmaker, so I was like, you know what? I don't know, but I can ask. You know.
Right.
What living actor would you want to work with for you to say I've truly made it to the top? Is there somebody that you aspire to work with?
This is gonna sound like a very Persian answer, but yeah, Robert De Niro. When I first came to the country, like I was here in '89 and 1990, Goodfellas came out, and that's when I first saw it. And I was just like, I don't know, even at that age, I was just blown away. I thought he was just this unique actor. I love the idea that he was just this sort of tough, strong presence, but he could also be sort of like light, delicate. He's just a fantastic actor. But I also would absolutely love to work with Denzel. Love to work with Meryl Streep. You know, I would. Yeah, I mean.
You actually did a great impersonation of Robert De Niro. I don't know if you did good ones with Denzel and Meryl Streep, but the one of Robert De Niro was pretty damn good.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, Robert De Niro is like, because I can't do a Robert De Niro voice, but almost like anybody can do the, like I don't know, but I can't do his like voice and stuff. He has like a very hard to imitate voice, in my opinion. I'm not great at imitations in general. So.
Is there one that you would like to improvise right now? Is there one certain person that you just do and we'd all know exactly who it is?
Okay, I'm gonna do it, and let me know if you think you know who this is. Right. But I mean, it's okay. This is gonna be awful because I can just do this one. Okay, so wow.
Oh, is this the Asian guy?
No. Oh. It's no. I would never do it. It's Owen Wilson.
Yeah.
Wow. Yes. So. Actually, that was good. Actually.
Oh, wait. Wow. No, so that's now that I've done an awful job, it's time for me to move.
No, that was great.
No, but folks, I'm terrible at impressions. I wish I was better at them. I tried when I was young, and I could just. I have so much respect for people who are good at impressions because it's like you either have it or you don't. It's one of those things like that. Yeah.
First of all, when is your next Persian dance hit video going to come out where you have, you've made like 3 or 4 series of videos imitating different dance? Is there one in the works? Do you have any more left in your bag of tricks?
Even though those dances are really stupid, for some reason for me they're really hard to come up with them. Like they're I don't know. I definitely there will definitely be another one I'll do. Just I gotta get a little bit more time to come up with some of them.
I'm surprised you came up with those 30, 40 already. That was a lot. You did 3 different videos with like 10 each. That was impressive.
I had a lot. I think I had a lot in me, and then I just sort of it all got out, and now I'm like, okay, can't think of it.
You're also very like nimble when I see those videos. You do the warm and you do a lot of different things. So I think you're into yoga probably.
No, actually, according to my mom, she thinks like I would sleep better and have less stress in general if I did yoga, which I should, probably should. But no, I used to break dance when I was a kid, so that helped a little bit. Um, I started training boxing when I was like 18, and that helped a lot with sort of makes you kind of light on your feet, I guess. So like maybe that's one of the reasons. I also always loved to dance when I was a kid, and maybe it's a little bit of that stuck with me. I'm also, I don't know if people can tell, I'm kind of a small guy, so it's easier for me to be nimble.
Yeah,
I'm not a big
so I
guy.
guess you're officially a triple threat because you also have your auto tune songs, so you have some hit songs. You can act, you can improvise, you can dance. I mean, dude, I mean, you either you need to be in Broadway or you need to just kind of create a whole new role where you play all these different talents. I guess I don't know. You're incredibly talented, man. Good for you. Keep it up.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you so much. I really
Um,
appreciate that.
all right, so Payam, just so in closing, I always like to give the virtual stage to our guests to talk about whatever it is that they're passionate about, that they want kind of like a message to the world, whatever it may be. So, in closing, I do want to appreciate you being a part of this Awesome People podcast, and it's all yours, my friend.
Thank you so much, man. Uh, I think what I would want to say is something that's, I guess, at this point is people have heard it ad nauseum, but it's like if you love something and you are willing to sacrifice for it, don't ever give up. That's everybody that I see that's successful. The one thing they all have in common in their road to getting there is that they didn't give up. And I think obviously sometimes it's much, much easier to say than to do. But I could tell you just from my own life, the the doors that have been shut in my face time and time again that led to other doors opening. I've seen it in my own life time and time again. And I've seen it in the life of my constituents and my peers. And they all share the same thing. And another thing I would say is like, whatever you're doing, whatever your dream is, whatever you want your work to be, we can't control anything that happens to us. We can't really control anything that happens to in our career. But the thing that we can control is how much work we put into it. We can control, for me, let's say when I go into audition, I can't control if I get that job, no matter how great the audition was or whatnot. But I can control how much work I put into it, how much I prepared, my self-belief, how I talk to myself, and those are the things we can control. And I think those are the things that we should always be on top of. Again, easier said than done. But I truly believe as human beings, if we are honest with ourselves and we bust our ass, we don't give up, we really are the masters of our destiny.
Yeah, I mean, basically, mindset and work ethic, I believe, are just basically two things that you just kind of encapsulated in your closing statement. I know you have a positive mindset, and I know you have great work ethic, and it shows in your work. Like you always people when people look at something, they know if it's quality or not, and quality doesn't come by pure chance. The cream always rises to the top, and I know that you have higher aspirations as an actor. But I hope that what's happened in the past 12 months is a great stepping stone that has allowed you to kind of like showcase your versatility to a lot more people. And I'm so happy that the Persian community has embraced you, albeit virtually, and hopefully they'll be embracing you in person. And good stuff. Keep
absolutely. And if I could just say, again, though I said it was never my aspiration, I never intended for the videos for people to see them or even care. Just the fact that it has happened and the level of support I've gotten from my fellow Iranians all around the world is just absolutely blown me away. So whoever's watching this, I just want to thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for all your support. I'm sorry I don't always get to answer everyone's messages or respond to comments, but it just, please know that it means the world for me, and I can't thank you enough for the support to everybody out there. Thank you so much.
You deserve it, man, and I appreciate you responding to my message and accepting this invitation to let me introduce you to those who haven't gotten to know Payam Banifaz as an individual. So I really appreciate your time. And in closing, we're going to play another one of Payam's clips that I hope will make you laugh And thank you, Payam, on behalf of a lot of Persians around the world for
Thank you,
bringing
brother.
us joy with your craft, and we wish you nothing but the best. I'm rooting for you, and I know that a lot of people are. So take great care of all that support you're getting, and let it take you to the next level, you know? And looking forward to seeing what's coming up.
Thank you so much, brother. Thank you. Love to you all. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining. Awesome people. Don't forget to please click the subscribe button, click the like button, comment. And if you want to follow Payam, you can follow him on Instagram at Bani. Show him some love by subscribing to his page or following his page, and continue to support this hardworking Iranian American. Much love to you guys. And ZENdegi this Thursday night featuring DJ Ari Jam. See you guys and good night. Shab khosh.
چای زیادی داغ نخوری یا سرطان میگیری. بیرون بدون کت نری یا میگیری سرما میخوری تپ میکنی یا میمیری. مگه نگفتم تو خونه ندو. میگیری میافتی سرت میشکنه میمیری. به سگای معلوم دست نزنی یا یه دونشون گازت میگیره. این ریبیز پدرت در میاره. اینقدر به سلفونت نگاه نکنی یا هر دو تا چشات چپ میشن. بعد چیکار میکنی؟ اینقدر تلویزیون نگاه نکن بهت گفتم. هر دو تا چشات کور میشن. بعد چیکار میکنی؟ این پنجره اتاقت امشب ببند یا یه کسی میاد تو اتاقت خفت میکنه. این موزیک تو زیادی بلند نکنی یا یه کسی به پلیس زنگ میزنه میان دستگیرت میکنه. تو حیاط داد نزنی یا یه دونه از این همسایه پلیس زنگ میزنه میاد خفت میکنه. ای بابا چیکار داری میکنی احمق؟ به گربه مردم دست نزن. ریبیز میگیری پدر در میاد. یا اصلا پلیس زنگ میزنن میان دستگیرت میکنن. احمق.
It's Ari Jam. I'm back with another episode of ZENdegi this Thursday at 9 p.m. Make sure to find the links in the bio.